Everyone left the rebellious twin alien princesses to die under the rubble of a galactic empire. The dust was still falling like gray snow when Hayden forced the bulkhead aside. He coughed into his scarf, every breath burning with the acrid bite of scorched alloys and crushed marble. The palace, a grand monument to the once mighty Ochre Dominion, was now nothing but broken pillars, twisted beams, and silent halls echoing with the final moments of an empire. "Can anyone hear me?" he shouted into the ruin. His voice was hoarse, ragged, but alive. Silence, except for the groan of metal settling into new shapes of ruin. He knew he shouldn't have come back. After the Imperial Army abandoned the capital, every sane soul fled the orbital bombardment. But Hayden wasn't one for letting guilt rot him alive. Word was that the twin princesses, the last daughters of Empress Bathra, had refused evacuation. Stubborn, defiant, rebellious to the very end. And now they were probably buried under a mountain of imperial pride. Still, his boots kept moving, crunching glass mosaics that once shone with celestial maps. Then a sound. A voice, strained and sharp. "Get away from her. Don't touch her." Hayden froze, raising his hands. Through the shifting smoke, two shapes emerged, one kneeling over the other. The speaker, her long silver hair streaked with blood and dust, leveled a broken shard of marble at him. Even on her knees, there was fire in her golden eyes. "Princess Lethra," he rasped. "And I assume that's your sister?" The other figure, limp in Lethra's arms, coughed weakly. Pale, fragile, but alive. "Who are you?" Lethra demanded. Her voice quavered with exhaustion, but her stare stayed fierce. "Name's Hayden. Civilian contractor. Used to haul supplies to your people before everything went to hell," he explained, lowering his voice. "I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to get you out." Her eyes darted around, as if expecting Imperial guards to jump out of the rubble. "Everyone left," she whispered, bitterness cracking her voice. "Even our own loyalists." "I know," he said softly, "but you're not dead yet. And if we stay here, you will be." A tremor ran through the broken floor. Distant booms echoed above. Hayden glanced up at the collapsing ceiling, knowing the bombardment wasn't over. "Come on," he urged. "Can she walk?" Lethra swallowed. "Her leg is broken." "Then help me," he said, stepping closer. For a heartbeat, she hesitated, then dropped the marble shard and nodded, tears tracking through the dust on her face. Together, they lifted the other princess, Delia, the gentler of the two by reputation, and draped her arm over Hayden's broad shoulder. Delia groaned, pain flashing in her delicate features. Even bruised and covered in grime, there was something noble in the way she clenched her jaw, fighting not to cry out. "Stay with us," Hayden murmured, tightening his grip. Through the shattered hallways they went, stepping over fallen statues of emperors past. Every breath was pain, every movement a gamble. Hayden had walked through death before, but never with such fragile hope on his shoulders. They reached a narrow corridor, half collapsed, with cables sparking like dying fireflies. "Why did you come back?" Lethra asked suddenly, her voice raw. "Because no one else would," he said simply. A strange silence fell. Amid the chaos, those words meant something. Delia's head lolled against his chest. "You're human," she whispered weakly. "Yeah," Hayden replied. "Not many of us left around these parts. Why save us?" Her voice was brittle, but genuine. "Because you're alive," he said. "And that's worth something, even if the galaxy thinks otherwise." Lethra looked away, her jaw tightening. He could almost see the swirl of guilt and pride in her eyes. These two were born into power, trained to be rulers, and now, discarded like broken toys. They reached the service tunnels, old escape routes built for moments just like this. Hayden dropped Delia gently against the wall and scanned the path ahead. "You have a ship?" Lethra asked. "Freighter. Ugly, slow, but she flies," he said. "About a kilometer west, in the ruins of the docking yard." "A kilometer," Lethra repeated, voice trembling. "Delia can't walk that far." "We'll carry her," Hayden said. He didn't add, "if the bombardment doesn't finish us first." Outside, the world was ash and flame. The twin moons glowed through drifting smoke. Towers burned like torches, their skeletons crackling. And there, half buried in rubble and scorched earth, sat Hayden's freighter, a battered old thing he called Second Chance. Delia stirred, her gaze fixed on the sky, eyes wide with sorrow. "All gone," she whispered. "Mother, the council, everything." Lethra's hand trembled as she brushed soot from her sister's cheek. "Not everything," she whispered back. Hayden felt like an intruder in that moment, but he pressed on. "We need to move," he said, "before the next barrage." Halfway there, a low rumble rolled across the ruins. A shadow loomed overhead, a patrol gunship, black and bristling with cannons. "Down," Hayden barked, pushing them into the remains of a marble arch. The gunship hovered, scanning the debris field. Hayden's heart thundered in his ears. One spotlight swept across the cracked ground, crawling closer. Delia whimpered softly, pain and fear spilling through her thin composure. "It'll see us," Lethra hissed, gripping Hayden's arm with surprising strength. "Not if we move now," he whispered back. "Stay low." Together, they crawled across splintered stone, Delia biting her lip until it bled. The spotlight slid past, then back. Hayden's breath caught. He thought of all the bodies buried in this rubble, of the empire that had crumbled in days. And then, the gunship drifted on, vanishing behind a fallen tower. They lay there, breathing raggedly, dust mixing with sweat. "Close," Hayden exhaled. Lethra glared at him. "You're insane," she rasped. "Probably," he said, and offered a half grin. "But I'm still breathing." A tiny flicker of amusement tugged at her cracked lips, almost a smile, quickly hidden. They reached the freighter as dawn's red light broke through choking clouds. Hayden opened the loading ramp, the hydraulics groaning. "Inside," he urged. They eased Delia onto a padded crate. Her face had gone pale as parchment, but she still gripped Lethra's hand. Sisters born together, surviving together. Hayden powered up the engines, fingers dancing over cracked screens. "Brace yourselves," he warned. "It won't be pretty." The freighter lifted, dust spiraling in frantic circles. Alarms wailed as anti-air batteries locked on. Hayden muttered curses, coaxing the engines for all they had. A missile shrieked past, close enough to rattle the hull. "Faster." Lethra yelled, eyes wide with terror. "I'm trying, princess." Hayden shot back, sweat stinging his eyes. At last, they cleared the ruins, the freighter lurching into the burnt sky. The capital shrank below them, the shattered throne hall, the burning towers, the grave of an empire. Delia lay still, breathing shallowly. Lethra knelt beside her, whispering words in the old tongue. Her anger was gone, replaced by quiet desperation. Hayden watched them, his heart twisting. For all their royal pride, they were just two sisters clinging to each other as the world ended. In orbit, Hayden set the freighter on a cold drift, letting systems cool. The silence in the cockpit felt heavier than any noise. Lethra stepped forward, standing in the doorway. Her hair was matted, her clothes torn, but her posture was still regal. "You saved us," she said, voice soft. "I couldn't just leave you," Hayden replied. Everyone else did, she whispered. Their eyes met, the air between them charged with unspoken words. A strange warmth stirred in Hayden's chest, unexpected, but undeniable. What will you do now? He asked. Lethra glanced back at Delia. We survive, she said quietly. For her, if nothing else. And after that? She hesitated. I don't know. We were born to rule a kingdom that no longer exists. Hayden nodded. Then maybe you build something new. She looked at him, the fire returning to her golden eyes. With a human smuggler? He shrugged, offering a crooked smile. Stranger things have happened. A faint smile touched her lips. Real this time. Fragile but alive. We owe you our lives, Hayden, she said. You don't owe me anything, he murmured. But if you decide to keep fighting, you won't be alone. Their gazes held, the silence rich with promise. No vows, no confessions, just a raw, uncertain bond, forged in dust and fire. Behind them, Delia stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Lethra? I'm here, Lethra whispered, hurrying to her sister's side. Hayden watched them, two rebellious princesses who had survived when their entire world fell. He didn't know what came next, exile, rebellion, or something entirely new. But as the freighter drifted beyond the wreckage of the galactic empire, Hayden dared to believe that hope, like them, had survived. And somewhere, beyond the ashes, a new story waited to be written.